Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do something a little bit differently. So I wanted to experiment with a Beef Wellington. I've always wanted to see if I could change things up with it. So I decided to try a new recipe out. And you'll see a few techniques that are a little bit different than a regular Wellington. So just hold on. And I'll explain my thought process throughout the entire process. So this is more of a not as much of a recipe, but more of a thought process type of video. All right, thank you. So basically, I started off by making the mushroom duxelle. Now, mushroom duxelle is pretty simple. I say that a lot, pretty simple. I don't know why, it's in most of my videos. I need to stop that, because some of these are simple for me, but could be kind of hard for you guys. I apologize for that, but yeah. So start off by making the mushroom duxelle. It's mushrooms in a pot with a little bit of oil. You want to basically evaporate all the liquid that's inside the mushrooms and get them into a nice brown color. Then you can also, what I like to do is add a little balsamic just to enhance the flavor, not too much, because again, it will overpower the mushrooms if you add too much. But just going through the motions of making a duxelle, it's very simple. Again, I just said it again. Fuck me. Excuse me. You didn't hear that, okay? But yeah, you go through the mushroom duxelle. After the mushrooms have been cooked down, you'll get to the food processor and you'll process the mushrooms into a nice paste, or pretty close to a paste. You want them very, very small, and then you'll cool that off. So basically just what you're doing with a regular Beef Wellington. And then I got to probably this is where I started to think, because whenever I ate Beef Wellingtons in the past, it was, how do I say, the thickness of the fillet, which is just a regular fillet, the moisture from that would always ruin the outer coating, in my opinion, because the mushrooms wouldn't absorb the liquid, and then it would get into the breading. And so while you're trying to eat the Wellington, it would just end up in like a wet mess of like blood, juices, and things like that, depending on how you have your steak cooked in the middle, which I like to go for like a medium rare. And so what I wanted to try and do is see if I can change that up, make the meat thinner, which will cook it better. Not as much juice would be excreted from it, thus making the outer shell crunchy throughout, or fluffy or flaky throughout, because it's a phyllo dough. And so I wanted to use thinner meat. So what I did was I got the thin slices of the Milanese type cut meats, and I flattened them out, and then I took a hammer or a meat tenderizer and wanted to get it as thin as possible. And then I went with the traditional Beef Wellington ingredients. So I did a Dijon mustard, I did the prosciutto, and then the mushroom duxelle. And then I rolled it like a burrito. Well, not really like a burrito, more like a pinwheel, or just rolled it onto itself. So it formed a pinwheel when you looked at it from the side. And then you would cut off the edges just to keep them nice and even. And then at this point, I wanted to play around with the breading as well. So what I did was, after I had my roll, my Wellington roll, as I'll call it for right now, I chopped it into thirds. And then I was going to experiment with each. So I had the control, or the regular one, which was the phyllo dough. And I wrapped it in the phyllo dough. There's a little bit of extra, so I took it off. Egg washed the top, scored the meat. And then for my next one, I went with a tempura batter. And I have a video for how to make a tempura batter. I'll link it in the description. But I wanted to see if that would allow for a better mouthfeel when it came to the Wellington, because I wanted to see. I know with most tempuras they're pretty crispy on the outside, but still have that like nice fluff to them. So I wanted to see if I could recreate that with the Wellington. And then I also went with the traditional breading, which was your 3-part breading. That's flour into an egg bath, and then into panko breading. And then for both of those, I just fried them in the fryer. And then, as you can see, the breading, the traditional breading of the 3-part breading, came out very beautiful. Had a nice color to it. The tempura batter, in my opinion, it messed up. I think because the Wellington roll was a little too heavy, it completely sank to the bottom without getting, without frying enough to create that outer shell. And so the bottom of the Wellington roll kind of ripped off in the fryer, and that tends to happen if the meat is too heavy and the fryer is too shallow. It doesn't give the batter enough time to cook, essentially, and become a nice shell, and so it broke off in the fryer. However, the other, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. Yeah, because there's 6 sides to a die. Yeah, so 5 sides of the Wellington roll were able to still maintain the tempura batter, but I believe the tempura batter is a little too thin, so it didn't come out the way I hoped it had. And then you had the control, which came out exactly as you would think. A nice breading on the outside. And so my verdict for all 3, after I tasted, as you can see towards the end of this video, or right now, cut them all 3 open, and they were all surprisingly to the correct doneness or correct temperature that I like. So medium rare. Now, I'm not gonna lie, with the tempura and the 3-part breading, came out a little undone, like a little bit less than I wanted. Like, so I wanted a medium rare. It came out to excuse me, rare to medium rare. And so that's one thing you have to look out, because the outside was able to cook a little bit faster than the inside. And so if I was to leave it in a little bit longer, I fear that the outside would become burnt or get a wrong color or a dangerous color. And then one thing while I was tasting it, and something I'd probably do differently and might do differently, is because of the Milanese cut, it's a little bit tougher than a filet. And so while I was trying to eat it, the cuts were sticking together. Or the best way I can put it is, like, it wasn't chewy, but it was hard to chew through. If that makes sense. I hope it does. Yeah, it didn't come out the way I wanted. So if I was to do this over again, what I would do is I would take a filet and I would slice roll it. So what I would do is, like, you have your complete filet. I would get it to around the same sizes as you saw the Wellington roll. So I'd get the filet like that, but then I would almost like butterfly it out while rolling it out, so it becomes a nice thin sheet. And then any imperfections I'd tenderize down, and I believe that would solve the tough to chew through part that this was. But beside from that, the control, or the Wellington with the phyllo dough, came out perfect in my opinion. Like, the inside wasn't too soggy, and when you cut in through it, as you can see, it didn't like spill out, or the juices didn't just like drain out, and you were able to have like that. You were able to, best way I can put it is you were able to keep the flakiness of the phyllo dough while also getting the tenderness of the meat, and it was still pretty juicy. So I would say that's one thing that's a good success. For the three-part breading, I feel like at this point it can work. I just need a better cut of meat. That way it cooks a lot more evenly, and then it's still also not as chewy. And then for the tempura, that one for me is just a no-go. I don't feel like it wouldn't work in any setting, and so just chalk that up to no good. Now, if you can think of something that's better, or if you have any ideas, feel free to leave that down in the comments. I'd be happy to hear about that. But all in all, I would say this is a good stepping stone for what I was looking for. I might make a part 2 video with the slice roll of the filet, and then I can also show you what I mean by that and see how that works. But we'll see for right now. Let me know what you think of this type of video. If you guys want more of this, or you want the regular videos, be happy to understand. Well, not understand, but be happy to see what you guys think. And thank you for watching. If you please like, subscribe, and then feel free to comment on the things below. And you have a wonderful day. Thank you.